Namaste and welcome to the Kahani Korner, where we share her stories beyond boundaries. Every once in a while, we meet someone whose story makes us pause and think, wow, life can really be lived in many chapters, and each chapter can be more inspiring than the last one. From explaining adoption to children with remarkable sensitivity, to turning a football match into a best selling story, to gently unpacking the complexities of Kashmir for our young readers. She has truly redefined what children's literature can be. Her books are loved, and her YouTube channel Tree Talk spreads culture and environmental awareness, and her creative life is laced with dance, music, and deep tradition. From lawyer to an award winning author, from courtroom drama to bedtime stories, from Mumbai to Portugal. This journey is as poetic as it is powerful. So grab your cup of chai or put on those headphones for the long walk and let's dive into a brand new story that's bound to inspire. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Mallika Ravikumar. Welcome to the Kahani Korner, Mallika. How are you feeling today?
Thank you so much, Netra, and your whole team. It's so nice to be here, to be chatting with you. And thank you for this honor. It's really nice and special, and lovely to hear this introduction. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Looking forward to this chat.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning, Mallika. The dream stage, the first page of the storybook. If your life till now were a book, what would its title be and why?
That's a very interesting question to start with. Well, there are lots of things that come to mind, but I think one thing I can maybe narrow down on is between roots and wings, because I think, like you introduced me, I used to be a lawyer. That is my family background as well. And then I took off to do something completely different. And even in terms of how I write, I write about liberal values, ideas that children like critical thinking and look ahead. Think forward and so on, but at the same time it's very grounded in India, very grounded in the culture and that I grew up in and the country that I grew up in. So I think between roots and wings would capture it very succinctly.
I love that, Roots and Wings. That title already gives me chills. It feels so you, Malika. That's very nice. So, when you look back, what was one childhood passion or dream that still echoes in who you are today?
I think it's writing. When I was a child, if I had any special experience, like today, the modern world, if we go for a holiday, we meet someone, or we tend to take photographs on our phones. When I was a child, any special experience, I would want to capture it in words. I'd want to write. I used to write a diary. Even if I got had a bad experience or a good experience, I met someone I liked, I met someone I disliked, whatever it was, I would want to write about it. So it was a very, very natural instinct almost that I had, and that has continued through my life. And now as a writer, I think I'm just using that instinct in a creative way. But yeah, it was something that clearly distinctly made me also different from the others. I don't think everybody around did have that interest in writing, but I was very, very sure that I didn't know I'd want to be a professional writer, but this need and this drive to write was always there.
So, your creativity roots started there, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's always nice, right? If you can do, you turn a hobby into your profession, where you it doesn't feel laborious, it doesn't feel tedious, it doesn't feel like, oh my god, another day at work. You're actually thinking and looking forward to work because you enjoy it so much. So if you're a bird watcher, for example, and you do bird photography for a living, I mean, it's just you're living your dream. So it's like that. I love writing and I write for a living, so it's just perfect.
Interesting. Very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Malika, every kahani has a twist, and yours took a fascinating one from the courtroom to children's literature.
Yeah.
You moved from law into literature, a leap not many dare to take. What gave you the courage to change that course?
Yes, absolutely. So it was a leap, but it was shaped by circumstances more than anything else. Like I said, I always loved writing, but never thought I'd want to pursue it as a profession. When I was practicing, I was very happy in legal practice. I was practicing in the Bombay High Court. I had no reason to quit or change, except when I had children. A lot of us as women, when we have children, our priorities change. And career was like taking a backseat at that time. My priorities were to be with my children. I didn't want them to be raised where I meet them only at night and put them to sleep and then send them off in the school bus in the morning. I wanted to be a more hands-on mother, wanted to be there for all their first steps, their first words, all that. So a little bit of that notion of I want to be a mother who's present was also there. So I stopped working. And when I stopped working, I was a full-time mother for a few years. And then once they started going to play school, I thought, okay, I want to still be a full hands-on mother, but at the same time, I also want to do something else. So when they were away in play school, I'd start writing stories for them. I also went back to college and did an MA in history, which was not a full day course, but it was an afternoon course. So after my kids finished, they came back from play school, I'd put them to sleep and then, go to college. So I did that as well. So things around their schedule. And so initially I started writing stories for them, my own children. Like you mentioned, the adoption stories, they were written for them because some of their friends were adopted. And I wanted them to understand the context of what adoption is. So I began writing for them, then shared it with, they liked the stories, I shared it with their friends, the friends liked the stories, I shared it with their friends' families to spread it amongst their friends. And they all seemed to give me good feedback that, we really liked it and we passed it on to somebody and they found it useful. Like the adoption stories were used to, explain to a grandparent who was resisting the adoption of a grandchild. Those stories helped sort of bring them around. So I thought, okay, maybe I can take this beyond just a hobby. In any case, I wanted to do something around my children's schedule. It was not very taxing. So then I wrote some stories, pitched it to publishers, and then that's how the switch really happened. So it was very organic. It wasn't like I hated law and therefore moved away or anything. It was just going along with life and it just happened.
Very organically. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But you're really inspiring. Now I feel like, okay, I was on a break. Now maybe I should start writing a book. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, that happens to a lot of people after they have children. You change your career and you do something else around your children's schedule. And I think a lot of women go through that sort of turn in their road.
Behind every story is a spark, Mallika, and behind every spark is a creator. Let's peek into your creative world. What's the most surprising place or moment or experience that sparked a story idea for you?
So as a writer, ideas are everywhere. In fact, the challenge is what to cut out and what not to write about. So everything. I mean, a conversation with people, sitting at a restaurant, waiting, or you're just waiting for your table, or waiting at a doctor for his appointment, for the appointment. You just observe, and there are stories happening all around you because the world is so interesting and people are so interesting. So it really is, what to sort of fish out and keep out of this net. That is what the challenge is. But story ideas. So again, coming back to that adoption example. So the first story that I wrote on adoption and put up on a platform called Storyweaver, now that has been translated into many languages, is a story because that emerged because I was eavesdropping on my children's not eavesdropping, but I was there and they were playing. My son was talking to his friend who happened to be adopted, and they were 3 or 4 years old. My son, I had just told him that the difference between fish and reptiles and mammals and so on, and he had just learned that a mammal is someone, and how you talk to children. I said a mammal is a creature that is born from their mama's tummy. And my son's friend, who was also 4 years old, she had just been told by her parents that she was adopted. It's advisable to tell the child very early. So she was only 3, 4, and she had just been told. And she had also been told with the same language by her mother that, you were not born from my tummy, but we brought you from a home and so on. So the words used were the same. So my son's friend, she was very excited. And it was a very matter of fact thing at that age. You don't take it as a big, jolt or anything. So very casually, she was talking to my son and said, I wasn't born from my mama's tummy. And my son, who had a completely different context to that, he said, oh my God, that means you're not a mammal. So I was listening to this conversation between them, and there was that misunderstanding was so cute. And I thought, okay, I need to explain to my son that he's misunderstanding this. And what she means is that she was not born from her mama's tummy, in the sense that she's not a biological child for the family, but was adopted, which is absolutely perfectly fine as well. So the eavesdropping on that conversation led me to write my first stories on adoption, where it's a bunch of them. But it was really, that was the inspiration. So, like, as you said, where did your story ideas come from? They come from everywhere, including from eavesdropping. So if you're around a writer, you should be very careful, because they can turn your conversation or life into a story.
That's a very good point. I'll remember, Mallika, next time we are together.
Yes, absolutely.
But I love the idea that you took it on in your stride, that you have to explain, and you did something about it and did a favor to the entire world, I would say. Thank you so much for that. So when you sit down to write, what does your creative process look like, from like the first spark or the first idea and to the final book?
So when I write, initially, of course, the spark, like I said, it can come from anywhere. But then, there are you have only limited time, so you have to decide what you want to focus on, what you don't want to work on, at least to keep it on the back burner and do it later. So you always note down these ideas that come, because some of them you can't work on all of them immediately. And so it's like an idea bank. So first put all the ideas into a little notebook, which is you can keep it digitally or an actual notebook, and then work on the ideas that push their way through you. They insist that they keep bombing their way into your head, and you keep thinking of those ideas, which means that you're more eager to work on that at that time. And then it takes its own course. Of course, a lot of time goes in research. You have to understand, like you mentioned, one of my books is about football, and I have never played football, although both my children play very actively. So I had to read a lot about what it is to be a footballer, and about football, the politics involved in sports, and so on. So you have to read a lot if you're trying to create a world of a novel of 300-400 pages, or some of the other books of mine which are much bigger. Research takes up maximum amount of time, and then as you're researching, a lot of ideas come into your head. You ideate. I am not a very organized worker. I wish I was, but I don't really make an entire plan before I begin, because I'm so eager to begin that I have half a plan chalked out and I start writing, and then I realize that this, I should have changed it, and then I waste a lot of time in that. There are two types of writers: plotters and pantsers, as they call them. Plotters are the ones who plot everything. They have to know the entire path before they begin. And pantsers are the one that they have a rough path and they just go along, and you discover the story along the way. So I am halfway here and halfway there. Like, you have a Google map. I just need to know roughly that I need to go in this direction. I don't need to know every turn in the way, because that's part of the journey, right? You discover sometimes new pathways, you discover shortcuts, you discover a new thing that you didn't know come along. So my writing process is a little bit haphazard, but it has some amount of outlining, and then it's a very creative, find the story along the way sort of thing.
So it may not be structured as you put it, but it's really magical. I'm impressed.
It has some structure, but it is not like everything is absolutely frozen, and there's no flexibility and so on. So it's a loose, rough structure, and then I discover things as I write.
Interesting. Mallika, also stories carry our roots wherever we go, even if we are far from home. Like, you've been balancing India and Portugal very nicely. So, living abroad while writing rooted Indian stories, you're really balancing it well. How has this shaped your identity and, say, creativity in writing? Any?
I have not lived out abroad for a very long time. It's only the last few years. So I've grown up, my schooling, college, education, work, raising my children were 10 when we left. So large part of my life has been in India. So it's extremely rooted. All my writing is about India. And living outside also is because, my husband's work has brought me here, and I'm here till, and that is probably the case with many women who move out of India because their husband's careers take them outside for a short period or a long period or forever. But so you're really just going along, and I'm taking it 1 year at a time. I'm been waiting to go back, honestly. So I don't have it's a adventure where you live in a different place, learn a different language, meet new people. It's a wonderful culture. Portugal is a beautiful place. people are very, very warm, welcoming, nice. So it's a wonderful adventure. But all my writing, because I write especially about Indian history and also Indian culture, it's extremely based in India, and so being here is only like I said, an ancillary part of what I do. It has not really much to do with my writing as such, but it's an adventure, and you meet new people, you meet learn from different cultures, and that's a nice thing.
So do you get a new perspective on how life is lived? Like, do you see a difference between Portugal and India?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I see, of course, positives of the West. There are many that, plenty that everybody knows, and there are some negatives as well. For example, the positives, I think people are here are very, very open, which I don't find. India, a lot of people are very closeted about. You don't even tell your closest friends because log kya kahenge. That culture is such a big, especially women in India face that a lot, and you're very conscious of what people will say. And I think that is completely liberating when you come to the West because everybody is very open. I met people who I hardly know, and they tell you about my son is autistic, or I'm going through a divorce, or whatever they're going through, and they're very open and casual about it, and there is no taboo about, oh my God, what are people going to say, and I'm going to be judged for it. So I think that is extremely liberating in the West, in Europe, and that is something that I would think it's a good thing that we should learn from them. So the positives like that, negatives also, I think, in India, one is in the West, generally, there's a lot of wastage, there's a lot of overconsumption of resources. So that is something that I think in India, we are far more conscious of reusing and using less resources. So that's one, negative thing about the West. So yeah, there are, being in any new culture, there are good things, there are not such good things, and you take what you can and discard what you think is negative.
You said that they're very liberating, or they're very open to talk about. Would
Yeah.
that be one of your topics for a new book or something? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I think not a topic, but definitely, a character. I'm sure at the moment I haven't created one like that, but that is definitely because it's such a stark contrast I've noticed. I'm sure in one of my books, I would have a character like that who's so open about, everybody has problems in life, and we are so secretive about it in India. And I think that creates more mental pressure and blood pressure and other lifestyle problems because you're just not talking about it. Whereas here, it's just a matter of life and people go on, and nobody's judging you for it. And that really takes off a lot of pressure from you, especially when you can openly chat about your problems. So I think that a character like that would definitely find a place in one of my books and as a positive, trait.
Amazing. That would be really nice for the Indian crowd also to read and maybe
Yes,
take
yes.
some lessons from him.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to
absolutely.
that. Mallika, your books and Tree Talk, especially your YouTube channel Tree Talk, carry
Yeah.
strong cultural and environmental messages. What inner values guide those themes that you chose to write about or chose to, talk about in your Tree Talk?
Yeah, so I grew up in Mumbai, in a city which is, full of. It has surprisingly a large part of Mumbai is a national park. It's one of the few cities in the world which has almost a 20 million population and a big cat living in the wild. Leopards live in the wild in Mumbai, so it's another very rare thing for a big city to have. And I growing up in that city, you see that contrast, and you also when I moved into the IIT campus in Mumbai after I got married, I realized that I was surrounded by these trees that give us so much, from the oxygen we breathe to the food we eat, the materials we use, the medicines we use. Everything comes from trees, but I didn't know more than a few by name. I couldn't identify them, and I felt really hollow about it. And I thought I should learn about it. So I entered into these field botany courses at BNHS. I studied about trees. I went on tree walks, bird watching walks, and learned a lot from people, resource people. And then I started taking my own children for tree walks, their friends, family friends who came to IIT to visit us. And it just became a wonderful experience. And many people, it's not that they don't care about trees or the environment, it's just that they've not had a chance to learn about it. And if you really want your children to care about the environment, first step is to know. You can't care about something you don't know about. So I thought it was something I can start to get this love for trees to more people like me who grew up in a city, quite blind to the life around them and the trees around them. But given a chance, they would want to learn. And it's not an academic instructional thing or botanical thing where you're dumping people with botanical information, but it's just the wonder and the awe of trees around you, which I could share through this YouTube channel. That's why I started the channel. And the idea being that, we can recognize film stars, we recognize football players, we recognize models, car models, and so on, but we don't recognize more than 5 trees. When life can go on perfectly well without recognizing, Virat Kohli and Shah Rukh Khan, but not without the trees around you. So it was really to shift that focus and give a little more weightage to something that we should value more for our own sake than, and that's what the Tree Talk channel tries to do.
I love that intentionality that you're putting in. It makes your stories, resonate with me on another level. Thank you for that again.
Thank you.
Every inspiring journey has its conflicts. Let's talk about the challenges that shaped your path, Mallika. What was the moment when you felt like giving up, but you did not? And what actually helped you push through?
I honestly, I have been very privileged. I think, it would be a little awkward to even say that there have been big challenges or challenges of any kind. The fact that I was born into a family where being a girl was no disadvantage of any kind. I was encouraged to do whatever I want. My mother, my aunt were already working. My grandmother had done her BA. So I came from a family where there was no disadvantage in being a girl or anything like that. So there was no challenge on that front. And I married into a family which was also equally liberal. My mother-in-law is a principal of a school. And so from generations, there was a place where women were given their equal space. So no challenge at all in that sense. And even financially, being in a comfortable setting, that again was never a challenge. So I wouldn't say there was any challenge as such. But if you're talking about writing, in the sense, there was of course self-doubt when I shifted from the legal profession, where obviously I was going to be having a far more secure future. I was doing well. I was in a good chamber. I was getting good work, and then I was jumping into a field where I didn't even know if I'd find a publisher, because publishing is very hard, especially if you don't want to. I didn't want to self-publish. I wanted to publish with a reputed publisher like Penguin, Hachette, and so on. And that is not easy. There are gatekeepers. It takes a lot of time. So there was self-doubt, definitely, that can I do this? Will I be able to do this? Will a publisher ever want to publish what I'm writing? Will anybody want to read what I'm writing? So those things were there, but those challenges were all in my mind. So it was my own internal thing. So externally, I don't think I've, I know it's not a very dramatic story to say that I have no challenges in that sense, but yeah, it was all internal. It was all self-doubt related, nothing to do with, so life has been good and I'm grateful for that. So there are no challenges that I wanted to have it to speak about.
That's so relatable, actually. Most of the times, there are not big challenges, only small ones which we make big, probably
Yes,
sometimes.
and especially they're in our own head, that can I do this? Will it work? Those questions that keep going on repeat mode in your brain.
Yeah, makes sense. And then, actually, in our life comes the moment where the hero finds strength, the rising action of your kahani. If you had to distill one life lesson the journey has taught you, what would that be?
Uh, so again, people who are listening, they come from different backgrounds. And to say, like I said, I come from a privileged background. I had a stable financial backing. So to jump into a career which writing doesn't make much money in India, especially. So to jump into a career where I didn't have to think of that, I could do that because of the background that I came from. So somebody who's listening who may take it out of context and say, you want to write, jump into the profession and become a writer, it may be completely misplaced advice. So, one needs to be careful when you give advice. So really, you should take your circumstances into account. But definitely, I think if you really love something and you're passionate about something, don't necessarily have to jump into that completely, but don't give up either. If you like music, for example, the music may not earn you your living, and you may not be in a position to make that jump to give up your job and do music full time. But don't give up completely. Whenever you get time, make sure you invest in some way to keep connected with that, because that really keeps you happy. Because like I said, I'm doing what I love, and it doesn't feel onerous at all. It feels like a joy to work. So that keeping in touch with what you love to do, even with the limited time you have, it could be a weekend, it could be once a week, it could be once a month, whatever it is. But don't distance yourself from what you love to do. It could be as simple as taking a walk in the park, recognizing trees, looking at birds, painting, or anything at all. You should not lose touch with that, because that's what you really love and you enjoy. So you should always continue to do that for some time at least, even if you can't do it professionally.
That's pure wisdom, Mallika. Something everyone listening can take away today, literally.
I hope so.
Now let's celebrate the shining chapters of your life, the achievements that mark how far you've come. Out of all your achievements, which milestone felt like a true turning point for you?
So one of them, of course, is my first book to get published by. So the first one was a book about trees for children. It was by Karadi Tales. It was called Tracing Roots. So the first publishing deal you sign is always like, at least some confidence it gives you that, okay, maybe, I have some chance in this sort of in writing. So that would be one milestone for sure. The other is, I don't have that book with me here, but the football book that you mentioned, it's called the District Cup, and it won a lot of awards, and it is doing well. It's one of the few books about sports in India, written for young adults, and it's about football. And that the awards that it won, the recognition that it won, and not just the awards, but the love it got from many children. It was a reinforcing factor to know that yes, I'm on the right path. Because sometimes recognition from peers is important to give you a sense of validation, and that is what District Cup did. It gave me a lot of confidence. And the third, of course, there are other books as well, but this book is a very special book for me. It's called 565. It took me 5 years to write it. It's a 500 plus page book, and it's about the accession of princely states. This also is a book that's doing very well, and it involved a lot of work, a lot of research, and it was a sort of promise I made myself that I would write this as a tribute to Sardar Patel, who sort of unified India, and very few people know about what he has done. So it was redeeming a promise I made myself. So I think these are some of the three main landmarks that come to mind. But I think there could be smaller landmarks, but these are the key marks that I can think of.
So you mentioned that earlier that your kids play football, and your book is about football, the District Cup, you said. Was there a magic portion added from them so that the book is so amazing? Or, I mean, was it inspired by them?
So my introduction to football was only because of them, and I had written books before that. So what happened was once both my children were actually reading one of the Harry Potter books, and they were reading it for the third time. And I told them, I've also written other books. Children seem to like it, but you don't want to read what I write. You keep reading Harry Potter again and again and again. And one of them said, you write about something I like, then I'll read. Because I generally write about history, and one of them likes history, the other one doesn't. So I said, okay, so what do you want me to write that will make you read? He said, you write about football and then we'll read. And it was sort of a challenge, because he knew that where is the chance that I'm going to write about football? Because my life was not gone in sports direction at all, and I knew very little. So it was more of a challenge. And once that idea got into my head, that why not? Let me try. And that's how it began. And then it actually became a very well-received book, even amongst people who play football and football coaches. There are many people who told me that they read it and it's written really well. But yes, definitely they had a role to play, because they read all the drafts. So even things like, if somebody kicks the ball in this direction and the goalie is in this position, he should be jumping left and not right. These kind of small corrections were made by my sons who read it, and because they play, they know exactly what the field looks like in the 99, 77, and things that happen as they happen. So they did definitely play a role in tightening all these football scenes so that it looks, because after reading that, people who play football tell me that, do you play football? How come you've written it so clearly and crisply? But that my sons definitely had a big role to play in that. Yes, the book really happened because of them, and therefore it's also dedicated to them. And hopefully soon there'll be a sequel to the District Cup. Let's see. I'm still working on that.
Interesting. Nice to know. Very nice, actually. Has there been a, like you mentioned about readers feedback, so has there been a reader's feedback or a child reaction that made you pause and think, yes, this is why I write?
Uh, yeah, there are, constantly when you go to schools, especially when you go for events, literature festivals, you constantly meet children. So recently, I went to a festival called the Neve Lit Fest in Bangalore, and there, so a boy who was going from the fifth to the sixth standard, he had read this book. And I was, it's marked for young adults and above, so which is like 13, 14 and above. So a lot of adults read this, but he was going from fifth to sixth. He had read this book and he had read it multiple times. He had a lot of questions to ask me. His mother and his teacher both met me along with him and said he absolutely loves your book and he wants to meet you and speak to you. And he knew some of the lines in the book when I was, saying that, Gandhi said this or Nehru said this. He actually quoted them as I was speaking. So he had, he loved this book so much. And then he came to me later to meet me and he said, told me about the book. He had a lot of questions. And he said, please keep writing history books like this. I love history and books about history are not written as well as this. And I would love to read more books by you. So it was actually something that I did set out to do because I love history too. And I feel history is written really badly in most books, and wanted to make history interesting for children. And here was a child who's reading far ahead of his age, who actually told me exactly what I was setting out to do. So it was very, very heartwarming to
I
meet
know.
him and to hear him
Yeah,
straight from the reader.
yeah. And kids have the best honesty, I believe.
Yes, yes, yes. They will not give you filter. They don't like something. They will. Adults might say, "Oh yes, it was lovely. It was beautiful. It would sound fake," but they're masking it in something to be polite. But kids don't do that. They don't like it. They'll just walk away from your session or something. So it's very nice when a child really praises you. It's coming straight from their heart.
That's very heartwarming, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Every story leaves us curious about what happens next. So, what's coming up in Mallika Ravikumar's saga now?
So yeah, more writing. There's constantly something. So my son was talking to my dad a few days ago, and he said, "What is he asked what I was doing, and my son said she's writing a new book, and my dad said, "So what's new about that?" So I'm always writing a new book. So she's always writing. So yeah, so I'm working on hopefully a sequel to the District Cup. I'm working on a couple of other history related projects. I'm also working on some non-fiction. So fiction and non-fiction, I like writing both. So working on that as well, but something for young adults, something for middle graders. So a whole bunch of ideas, but the challenge is to find the time to work on all of them. So you need to sort of discard, like I said, keep some for later and work on it later. But yeah, working on a whole bunch of ideas. Hopefully, few more books in the coming years.
Any particular theme or story that you haven't touched yet but would love to explore in the future? Like any topic or.
So I don't have a background in science at all, and I don't have a good understanding of science. Although my husband is steeped in science, and I live in the IIT campus surrounded by people of science. But so that is something that I don't think again the self doubt that you have. I don't think is something that I can touch. But yeah, that's a topic that is an enigma, sort of an intriguing thing. Or do you think I can write something related to science for children? But I don't see myself doing it as of now. But yes, that's a topic that I have not touched and no idea if I can or should.
Yes. But you have three people at home to help you on that again.
Yes, absolutely.
Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we tell ourselves. If you could whisper one piece of advice to your younger self, maybe that young lawyer who is just starting out, what would that be?
One piece of advice to my younger self, I think, and I think it's not unique because I think many women in their 40s would have also come upon this, is that don't think so much about what others think. You're constantly, especially as a teenager, probably this, in school, or not just in school but in college also, there was this conscious thought of how I look or how people will think I look, especially as I was a dark skinned person. Will people think I fit in, or will I fit in, and so on, these kind of questions. So when you get older, you realize that really the world doesn't care. Everybody's fussing about themselves to really bother about you. And you shouldn't think so much about how you look or how you appear or how other people think you look and so on. It really is no big deal at all, and should not bother about it so much. Go ahead, or not just look, but even how you perform. Like if I was in a debate, or if I was in I was constantly participating in something in school or college, how the consciousness of how you would be seen by the teachers and judges and parents and others. You don't let yourself lose, because you're very, very conscious about that. So I think let yourself lose a little more would be what I would tell myself. Don't think so much about what others think and say.
Yeah, I think the girls today need to hear that. Even our generation had to, but even
Yeah.
the girls today needs to hear this big
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Yes.
All right, Mallika, it's time to step out of reality and dive into imagination now. Something
Okay.
that you have been doing. Welcome
Yes.
to the Step into the Story. Here's a game. I'll throw a few rapid fire story themed questions at you, and you have to answer without overthinking, just your gut instinct. Okay, this is the
Okay.
fun segment, the rapid fire
Right.
segment.
Okay. Let's go.
If you could live in one of your stories for a week, choose now.
565, 1947, India.
Amazing. One character from your books becomes your roommate. Who?
I think Zunni from the book on Kashmir that I wrote, which is called The Battle for Baramulla. She's a
Okay.
14-year-old girl who lived in Kashmir in a very tumultuous time.
Oh, interesting. That's perfect,
Yeah.
actually. Pick a sidekick from any of your books to come with you. Who and why?
To a sidekick to what? Sorry.
To your life, to come with you, like in your life. Who and why?
Okay. A sidekick from one of my books. So I would, from District Cup, in the District Cup, there is the grandfather who is not the main character of the book, but he is Ajoba, is what we call him. He's a very wise person, always, replying in proverbs and idioms. And I love proverbs and idioms. So if I had somebody like that in my life who'd constantly be talking in proverbs and idioms, I would love it.
Interesting. Okay, superpower time. If you get a superpower, would you choose reading minds or speaking every language?
Reading minds.
And why would that be?
Yes, because that is, so often, like I said, adults are so filtered and they don't tell you exactly what they feel. But if I could read their minds, I would be able to create in more deeper characters in my books. So because I would know what one is thinking and what one is saying and why is there a difference. So that would help me create more interesting characters in my books.
That would totally change the game, right?
Yeah.
If your pen could talk, what would it say about you right now?
Uh, she tried her best.
Oh,
Because in fact, when you asked me for the superpowers, I was going to say if it was a free question without options, I would have the power I would have liked is to turn 24 hours a day into quadruple the number of hours in a day so that I could do all the things that I want. But so I'm trying my best within the 24 hours that I have.
I think that is true in your case. You're doing so much, handling so much. 24 hours is really less for you.
Yeah, it would be so nice to have more time, really.
Okay, one story scenario to live through, funniest or wildest? What would you prefer?
Funniest.
Funniest. And that's step into the story. A little magic, a little chaos, and a whole lot of Mallika, our storyteller, our dreamer, and adventurer. Every kahani must end, but the best ones stay with us long after the last page. Mallika, this has been such a delightful journey from dreams to challenges, from stories to milestones, and of course, all the fun in between. What I loved most is how your journey reminds us that every chapter in life has a meaning and that it's never late to pick up the pen and begin again. Thank you for being with us on the Kahani Corner. To our listeners, until our next time, keep dreaming, keep telling stories, and remember, your life is the most important kahani you will ever write. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Netra. Thank you very much.
Stories inspire when they travel. Share the love. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, The Kahani Corner.